Welcome to the Soulbody Wholeness podcast.
Each episode is a living, breathing transmission. Together, we will explore deep, nuanced, and controversial topics of the soul. Welcome to your community of sensitive seekers and deep feelers.
Welcome back, Goldsbrand.
All right. Welcome to the show, dear, beautiful listener, viewer. So excited to have you here. This episode, I had on my friend who I've met while having a little bit of my energy in the St. Pete community, St. Petersburg, Florida. His name is Thomas Waterman. I've heard that he has also been lovingly referred to as Tom Das. So he seems like a special character in the St. Pete mythology, in the St. Pete community. And he is the founder and steward of Sacred City, which I don't even think Thomas gave me a description of Sacred City. He didn't provide it in written form. So I did a little bit of research. Sacred City is a St. Pete-based conscious community that brings people together through ceremony, music, dance portals, retreats, and celebrations focused on courageous authenticity, personal growth, and collective connection. So I think that's really beautiful. And I've had my own direct experience with their events, and I think they're really beautiful and wholesome. And in the episode, I sort of foolishly, mistakenly used the word conglomerate to describe the community. I meant it's sort of this ecosystem with a lot of different moving parts. From my research, that's not the correct definition of conglomerate. It has something more to do with corporations coming together, which is definitely not what Sacred City is. So disclaimer on that. And yeah, it was just a really beautiful conversation. We talked about what Sacred City is and its mission, and it sort of just opened up a lot of beautiful themes for me and this brother to just go deep in. You know, we talked about what courageous authenticity really is, and honesty and transparency. And these are conceptual themes that, of course, many of us believe are good, but what is it to actually live them in practice and refine them and get into deeper and deeper subtle truths with them? And so I think we are both on such a deep path of devotion to truth. And it's our own truth, it's our inner truth, and bringing that forward, getting to the bottom of it, excavating it, and then expressing it, and it being really what I think, I don't know if Thomas would agree, but being this vehicle for awakening for everyone. I want to hear everyone's deepest, most excavated, intimate truth, because I believe it's medicine for me and it's medicine for everyone. And so we went really deep on a lot of these concepts, and it was amazing. So I hope you enjoy it. And to switch gears for just a moment, shameless little plug here. By the time I release this podcast, I think it'll be very shortly after this, but March 19th, there's still time to sign up for From Collapse to Courage, which is a beautiful offering that I have cultivated especially for leaders and healers and visionaries, those of us who are being called into our next octave of leadership, our next octave of responsibility and visibility. And it's really a gift and an offering. It's a somatic transmission that's really going to help to expand our capacity to keep moving forward and to keep meeting the challenges of our life, all of these new responsibilities, with a fire, with a new energy that helps us stop being so overwhelmed and going into collapse. And that's why it's called From Collapse to Courage. It's not about bearing down and just pushing forward into burnout. There is a masterful middle way that is revealed through embodiment, that is revealed through somatically releasing and integrating all the energetics of really these trauma protective strategies of our past and meeting the present moment with a new energy. So I would love to see you there. You can find the links in this episode show notes. You can find it in my bio, on my Instagram, on my Facebook. But it's very affordable. And yeah, I want you there if you feel called, and you get to keep the recording. So that's enough of that. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the episode, my friends. Thomas Waterman, how you doing today, brother?
Grateful, bro. Grateful to support and share.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. I've been dipping my toes in St. Petersburg, Florida for the past 6 months or so. Haven't lived here. I don't feel like I've landed fully in this place. My parents moved here a few years ago, and I've been to some of the events hosted by Sacred City, which is seems like some conglomerate big community that you steward and that you founded. And so I feel really curious because I've gone to these events, these dances, these song ceremonies, and I don't really know the history or anything like that, but that's what we're maybe going to get into today. And yeah, excited to see where the conversation organically goes. I'm feeling good today. Got my favorite V-neck going. Feel well rested, well caffeinated, and ready to drop in. But first, let us drop in to a little meditation.
As we do.
As we do. So yeah, just dropping into this moment. Maybe closing your eyes if it's appropriate where you're at in time and space. And feeling your connection to whatever it is that's underneath your feet. Maybe you're lucky enough to be barefoot on the earth. Maybe you've got shoes on. Inside, outside, whatever it is, just feeling this energetic quality that you have access to within your feet. And just taking some breaths into this space, into this moment. Let's all just allow one collective breath together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And coming back into the listening sphere, Thomas. It's great to have you. And yeah, I feel curious if you want to share first maybe a little bit about what Sacred City is, and then we can sort of possibly move into the origin story.
Yeah. Well, I believe you called it a conglomerate community or something. That's interesting. Yeah. I'm curious, so what is your perspective on it if you're open? So conglomerate community? Is that or what do you think?
That word just sort of came through. I don't feel like I fully understand what it is. I don't even know if I know what the word conglomerate means, so apologies if that landed in any type of way. It feels like
it's great.
It feels like some type of ecosystem, actually, that I don't understand the inner workings of. I see the events. I see that there are associated businesses that are possibly could be described as more intentional or conscious.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of how I experience, but there's still an air of mystery for me.
I kind of like that. I kind of want to keep that in the air a little bit, build a little tension,
I
a
think
little
it's a good
drama.
marketing move because, like, here we are. Like, I'm like, get
Right.
on this podcast. I got to know more.
Yeah, I'm like tempted to not spill the beans. Yeah, this is. I will though. I will. I'm committed
Spill those
to
beans.
opening up. Sacred City to me is, in the most practical terms, it's a self-development community. If I were to explain it to like the most mainstream, where everyone would kind of get it, it would be like a CrossFit gym is a bunch of people who are on a mission and they're doing it together and they're rooting each other on. It's really just people walking along some kind of journey and rooting each other on in the process. And the way I would explain what our mission is, with Sacred City, this group of people who are walking on this journey, is to build a magical place. And in more practical terms, like, how can I build a life where I experience a meaningful moment at least once a day? That's really what we're doing. That's Sacred City. It's like, that's the goal, is anyone who's involved, we're creating infrastructure, we're doing whatever it takes to help everyone involved experience at least one meaningful moment a day where it's like, wow, I'm really glad I'm alive. Like, I'm really glad this feels worth it. This feels meaningful. There's a spark of possibility in the air. Life is magical. And just at least once a day, just to taste that. I think that's really what I'm looking for in life, is just while I'm walking along this life, I was born, I'm going to die. One day it seems, I just want to feel like my life is meaningful, is significant. There's a spark of magic, and that my daily life matters, and that it's meaningful and it's worth getting up in the morning. And to me, that's the vision, is a city where daily life feels magical. Because it seems like that's like the most important thing in life for me. And so everything we do is to support everyone involved in experiencing magic at least once a day. And so it's like Sacred City, so we're really building a city infrastructure. So like, how can we, and what is a city infrastructure? It's like all the infrastructure to support a group of people who are living their lives together. So how I make every decision in Sacred City around what are we doing every week at our events? How are we making decisions? Like, what do we add? What do we take away? Everything is supporting people and cultivating that life, and then supporting a community to walk together along a life journey. So we do song ceremonies, and that's all singing to remember who we are. Because I feel like when I'm living life from a place of sacred remembrance, what are my values? What matters most to me in this life? How do I want to show up? How do I want to contribute? What role do I want to play? When I'm locked into that and I emerge into my day from that place, life feels like the odds that life will feel magical and meaningful are a little higher. And then our dance portals that we do, our dances, are all about giving people a platform to embody who they are and to try that on and to emerge into reality, tangible reality from that place of remembrance. And I know for me, when I'm being courageously myself, when I'm embodying my truth, I'm saying the things that I want to say, I'm doing the things I want to do, I'm willing to do that even in the face of fear, all of a sudden my life feels more like an adventure. All of a sudden I'm finding my fellow comrades along the journey, because they're seeing, oh, wow, he just did that. That's really inspiring. And I'm attracting all the things that I want, all the people I want to walk with. Life becomes a little more exciting when I'm willing to be courageously authentic and embodied in who I am. And then we do our celebrations to embrace this journey, to embrace who we are, to high-five each other along this journey. And so it's really this like monthly upward spiraling journey of remembering who we are, embodying who we are, embracing who we are. And in theory, that sparks a more adventurous, meaningful, magical daily life. So everything we do is focused on that journey. And then because it's a city, we're asking the question, how can we support and build infrastructure for everyone to plug in. So we have our sprouts, our kids, Sacred City sprouts, all the way to our elders, Sacred City sages, and everything in between, businesses. Those are our Sacred City shops, Sacred City citizens. And so everyone has a way to plug in, and we're asking that question: how can we build a city infrastructure? So for our sprouts, we're starting with like a monthly sprout hangout for them to cultivate, like understand who they are and live from that place, and then that's going to transform into a full-on school one day. So it's all around the experiment of what is it like to build city infrastructure for a group of people to live courageously authentic lives together, in theory that creating a magical daily experience in life, and that seeming like the most useful thing to do with our time.
Yeah, very functional way to end that.
That's kind of how I think, dude. That's like how I think. Like, what's the most useful thing to do with my energy right now? It's like I
Yeah, it's
get back to
magic
that.
and courageous authenticity. Like,
That's it.
it's the most effective, productive way it's the bridging of the Eastern and the Western, right?
Totally. Totally. From the most ethereal to the most practical. And I just love bringing that together, And so that's what we're doing. A very functional magic. Yeah.
Because you really started us off well by bringing in the metaphor of the CrossFit community. So
Yes.
the functional fitness, this is functional magic.
Right. Exactly. Bingo. Yep.
So I might take us off on a little side story here.
I'm here for
we'll
it.
definitely circle back in. It just feels very alive and in the moment, because you kept speaking to this foundational pillar of courageous authenticity and sort of having the courage to do and speak one's truth, and seeing how that has ripple effects and the impact. And it's just so very interesting. I recently reached out to you with a personal invitation to this group event that I'm offering. And I did that for, I don't know, maybe 10 people so far. It's like a very well thought out voice message of, speaking, because I want specific people there. And I don't think maybe ever since I've done that in anything that somebody responded in the way that you did, where you were like, yeah, I checked it out and it's just not a fit for me right now. I celebrate and honor you, what you're doing. That level of just pure honesty versus all of the ways that we sort of sidestep that, in community and culture, even with some of our closest friends. It's like, I'm going to feel into it, or just not responding to the message, or there's a myriad of ways to not get to the crystallized truth and express the crystallized truth. And I just thought that was really inspiring that you actually took the time to be with it, look at it, come to your truth, and then express that to me. And I don't know, what if anything came up for you in that process, but a lot of people, when they do that and they hit the send, it's like, oh God, I'm going to hurt this person. They're not going to like me, or they're going to feel bad about themselves.
Mm. Yeah. What's your question there?
I think I was pausing to take a drink and just be with that.
Love that. Dude, let's take a pause. I'm down. Let's sit with it. Let's let it settle in.
Let's let that simmer for a moment, the depth of that. I guess my question would be, one, as a microcosm, how is that experience for you? But as a more macrocosm in your life, how have you come to that place of being able to get to that? I think that's a really valuable, rare skill that a lot of people are not wielding.
I think the metaphor that comes up for me is if I get it's definitely CrossFit. If I'm at the CrossFit gym and I cut myself, and there's dirt in the wound and it's stinging, it hurts or whatever. It's like I could just ignore it and cover it up and not do anything and pretend it's not there. And to me, if I do that, then it could begin to fester and it will stay. And not only will it stay, it'll get worse. Or I could pour alcohol on it and clean it, and it'll sting like crazy, and it will finally get to be in a state where it can really heal. And to me, that's the metaphor, is I've let things fester and get infected so many times just by dancing around, not saying the thing, not responding to the invitation, pretending like nothing happened, holding something in when there's tension present, and how it's just created so much disconnection and suffering and anxiousness and pain in my life and in my relationships. And I'm like, I've done that enough times where I'm pretty done with it. I'm pretty over it. And the pain of dumping the alcohol in the wound is worth it. And again and again and again and again and again, I keep seeing how pouring the alcohol stings at first, but ultimately I feel cleansed, I feel present, I feel creative, I feel intimate, I feel amazing with myself and in that relationship, with whatever I'm being honest with. Myself, other, when I finally just say the thing, when I finally do the thing, like I just feel more present. It's like if I'm feeling like Josh, if I didn't respond, I probably wouldn't feel as present right now. I'd probably be subtly thinking about the fact that I didn't respond. And if I wasn't honest and I abandoned myself and I was like, yeah, dude, I'm in because I didn't want you to be mad at me, like I probably would feel a little empty, and maybe that would project into some resentment and some disconnection. And I'm like, F that. Like I want to feel present and intimate and creative with this man. And so I'm going to say the truth, and I know it's going to suck, and it does suck a little bit. I definitely felt a little tension in responding. There was something present for me there. And at the same time, I know the power of honesty and integrity and just I call it clearing the field. Anything that's where I'm not feeling present, I want to say the thing, do the thing to clear the field and bring it back to like energetic freedom, essentially. And it's been such a beautiful act again and again. I mean, then think about the word relationship. The word real is in relationship. So I find relationship really thrives when I'm sharing my reality and they're sharing their reality. And so I am so grateful to know how you actually feel. Because when I feel like that's not present, now I'm in my head, now I'm anxious, now my nervous system is on alert. And I love getting to share how I'm feeling. And now we get to create agreements and we get to do life together from a shared reality. And even if it stings at first, I find it often creates a more sturdy, stable, exciting, expansive way forward. So that's what I got.
It's beautiful, man. I can relate so hard. I can resonate with so many of those themes. Yeah, I mean, before I share from my experience, it really brought up this question. I loved your metaphor of the cut, because when I think back to my life, I've done that a lot with physical things, including cuts and injuries, and just like, and even spiritually bypass and be like, nah, I'm just putting love into this and moving on. Like it's just, but it wasn't really the highest would be to deal with the thing.
Yep.
And so the question I have for listeners is, where do you let things fester? And even if you don't think you're dishonest in any way, like where in your life do you see external evidence of things that you let fester? Could be just leaving your bed undone, or leaving your room messy, or like hiding everything in the closet from floor to ceiling, and then like having this sort of a little bit of an illusion of like my life's all together and so clean and everything. Like there's so many layers that this could express. And at this point in my life, I pay attention to everything external as a mirror for what's happening to me internally. which I think is spoken about in a lot of high teachings, obviously. But there's a different level that I experience in an embodied sense where it's just like everywhere, and it blows my mind. Even like just dropping a glass, I'll be like, huh. And if I'm really with that, something opens inside of me. There's some reason that happened. It's showing me. So it's a
Yep.
little bit going off there, but I so resonate with many, many years of not speaking my truth. And then as I went on a spiritual path and, compassionate communication path, I started to become more clever on how to not fully speak my truth. I
Hmm.
started to become more like NVC, nonviolent communication ninja, and like using it in such a precise way that I sound really good and I sound really conscious, but I'm not actually going into the root of what's most uncomfortable to share and being with my sensations and feelings as a result of that, finding a way to sidestep it. So it's a tricky path, and there's a quote that always sticks with me that a half truth is more dangerous than a full out lie. I can deeply resonate with that path and like constantly refining and getting closer and closer. And the thing that brings me the most sensation is probably the North Star that I need to go towards to get to the actual truth.
Yep. Yep. 100%. I mean, like to me, it's like confronting the dragon. Just like
Mm.
go say the deepest, truest thing and just be with it. And I just find there's like a melting down of tension. There's a freedom and there's a way forward. And it's so beautiful. Like where I thought there wasn't a way forward, all of a sudden the trees kind of part and there's a way, and it's so beautiful. And I think it's just because I'm just being honest about the fullness of my humanness, and I think someone else is a human being, so they are understanding the fullness of their humanness, so they're getting to actually see that I'm an actual human, and I think that builds trust. I think that builds intimacy. It's like if I say yes to everything, their trust may break down in our relationship because I imagine that you don't want to say yes to everything. And so if you're seeing Thomas say yes to everything, it's like that doesn't seem human because I'm a human and I don't want to say yes to everything. And so that's what I found is like being more real and vulnerable and authentic builds intimacy because the other person is a human and they know their human experience. And so if I'm just being one part of my human experience, I feel like there's something missing there. And so even as a steward, as like a someone who's like supporting community, I found the key is to I used to strive to be perfect, perfect, perfect. How can I be the most selfless, amazing, positive, supportive person ever? And now it's actually more like how can I just be the most authentic Thomas? That's the most effective thing I can do to maintain trust and cohesion in community is just be the most real about my humanness. Like I had someone approach me last year and say like, Thomas, I like you just it was after an event and they said you just led with no ego. Like there was just you have no ego. I've never experienced this before. And I'm just like, and I've had a couple of moments like this with people. I don't remember exactly how I responded in that moment, so I want to be clear about that. But this has happened multiple times where, someone kind of has this feeling they think I'm this part of me. And I'm usually quick to say, I get a lot of payoff from this too. I love that people like me. I love that people know me in community. I love that I feel significant. I like feeling significant. My ego feels comforted in my role. I'm very human. I feel scared sometimes. Sometimes I feel threatened by people, and this feels like my calling. It feels like what I'm meant to do as participating in the miracle. I feel like I'm melting into the universe, as I do this, and I have an ego, and I get payoff from this, So I love just being fully real about the wholeness of who I am, and not to like be more enlightened than the people trying to be perfect. It's just for my own sanity, and to effectively maintain trust and cohesion for a group of people. So it's very functional, and it's also just to relieve my own suffering. You know what I mean? And so that's a big part of this is like my practices are not really trying to be right. I don't know if I'm right. I have no effing idea. No clue. It's really from just to how can I feel not crazy? How can I lessen my own suffering and actually have functional, sustainable relationships with anything in my environment?
Yeah, it's beautiful. There were several themes there that I felt inspired by. One being, yeah, speaking honestly and having honest communication is the portal into intimacy for so many reasons. And one of them that was coming through for me is that if you have an uncomfortable truth, I find that 99% of the time it's an uncomfortable truth for others, and that truth is a medicine that is a gift to the collective. It's a gift to you and the other person you're speaking to, you and the group of people you're speaking it to. There's something in it. If it's your truth, it's a truth for everyone. There's something there for everyone in the mycelial network. It's like, and by medicine, I mean it works on us. There's something that wants to heal, that wants to be expressed, that wants to evolve, that wants to grow. And wow, what a relief that you don't have to figure out what that is for everyone. What's the best thing for everyone? It's actually being so rooted in your own truth and speaking your uncomfortable, honest vulnerability moments that offer the highest portal for everyone to experience more freedom and intimacy. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's relieving, and that's my focus is just what I don't know how the world should be. I don't know what other people should do. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if world peace is the best thing or world chaos is the best thing. Like, I don't know. Everyone, from my perspective, from my experience, everyone has their own preferences, and they seem to be a little different here and there. And so I've very much let go of the need to impact the world, change the world, fix the world. I don't even feel like I know what the world needs. I bow in humility, and so my focus is sharing my contribution. And in Sacred City we say like laying the bricks. It's like I don't know what other people should do. I'm just here to offer my contribution, which to me is live in my values and be as honest as I can and show up and do the things I feel called to do, say the things I feel called to say, and do my best not to tell anyone else what they should do. And so it's been really relieving, and I feel much more connected with people. There's much more influence, there's much more coherence with people because I'm not trying to get them to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I still do here and there. I'm still trying to control people a little bit. Show up to my events, come on, like. And like I'm still trying to do that a little bit, but I've like pulled a lot of that back, and it's been very relieving.
Yeah, I sense that. Yeah, there's a need for trust. There's a need to be able to trust in something greater than my need for control of the situation. Trust that there's a higher, greater intelligence.
Well, that sounds like faith, like faith to me is my reason to let go of control of my environment, and to me, like I have faith in if I just live in my values, I'm okay with how everything unfolds. So my faith is just if I do my part, aka live in my values, I trust that everything is beautifully unfolding. And so I think people, from my experience, have different versions of that, of what that looks like. What are they focusing on that helps them dance and honor the uncontrollables and not try to constantly be trying to control the environment?
certainly. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a beautiful little trip we went on there. Um, I really
It's deep.
enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, honesty and truth and authenticity. I, yeah, I feel called to sort of bring it back a little bit to Sacred City, and
Yeah.
yeah, I feel curious. What got you to that place of bringing it to fruition? Like, what is some of your backstory or some of the themes that you work through to kind of get to that point?
I mean, in terms of Sacred City, like it really began when I fell in love with kirtan when I lived in Bali for 3 months. And I was just get blasted by kirtan and mantra. And I brought it back to America and I started doing it with a couple buddies, like a fraternity brother and a guy I met in an entrepreneur network thing. It's
Wow,
like three of us during the pandy, just every Thursday night, dude.
the
We'd light some.
pandy.
Dude, have you ever heard that? I
I have
love
not
that,
heard
dude.
that.
Bro,
That's a
someone
really
called it.
nice way to like soften it.
Bro, someone called it the pandy, and I lost it. I just lost it. I was like, that is so incredible,
You just said it so
bro.
casually, which makes it 10 times funnier.
Makes it way better, totally.
Yeah.
So, but it was me, a fraternity brother, and an entrepreneur friend, and we were gathering, lighting candles and singing mantras during the pandemic. And then I met someone at an ecstatic dance in St. Pete. They came out, experienced it, invited me to do it in St. Pete, and I did it in a backyard in a yurt in St. Pete. And then it was like three of us in St. Pete, and then we decided we were going to do it every week. We just started doing it, and it was like 3 people, 5 people, 7 people, 11 people, more and more and more and more. And it just kept growing in this yurt in this backyard. It was very organic. And then it moved into a living room, and then we got to a point where we were getting a little big for that, and then it went to a yoga studio, and then it went to this like conscious venue, and then we were at a freaking Unity church, this like full on experience. Then that church ended up moving from that building, and we went back to the conscious venue, and now we're at Sacred Lands, which is this beautiful sacred land in St. Pete. So really, it was very organic, and I just followed the call of like what I really wanted to do. And there was just a couple people for months and months where it was just three of us. And then it just caught fire. And so what I love to do is respond to what's emerging, respond to what's magnetizing. And so I just kept building infrastructure to support what was emerging. So it wasn't even like we didn't have a name for it. And then someone just created a Facebook group and called it the St. Pete Kirtan Gang. And it was the St. Pete Kirtan Gang. I got a shirt in my backpack over there. That's the St. Pete Kirtan Gang shirt. Um,
When
and
was
then
this? Like, when did you go to Bali?
yeah, 2019, end of 2019.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then during the pandemic we were doing it, and then 2021 is really where we started doing the like growing, and it was the St. Pete Kirtan Gang and Camp Sacred City, what is now like our annual festival, was Camp Kirtan, and so it was just emerging, and so I kept becoming more clear. I was asking the question, what is going on here? What is this? What's bringing us together? What's the common vision? And I was thinking about all the conversations I have with people. What do we tend to talk about? What do we tend to, what are we inspired? I'm getting chills thinking about it. Just like, what are we inspired by with each other? What are we high-fiving each other about? What are the underlying pulls? What's the journey we're all walking, even if we're not naming it? What are the values we're all like revering each other for living in, even if we're not saying them? I love to go underneath and really like create those functional things so we can name it and then continue to walk forward with more intention. And what I found was authenticity was the foundation. It was like be yourself, like share your gifts, lean into your gifts. you feel called to play piano, now you're doing it. And like you want to lead this thing, now you're doing it. You want to say this thing out loud, you just did it. And so it not only was it authenticity, but there was another element, which is the courage. And that was the piece. It was like, it's not just be authentic. It's even on the threshold, even when it's terrifying, even when I've never done this before and I think I'm going to die, I'm going to jump off the cliff anyways. And I realized, I'm like, I think that's kind of what I was seeing, the pattern that was bringing us all together. And it was, not only am I going to be authentic, but I'm going to do it even in the most scary moments. I'm going to have that hard conversation with my mom, or I'm going to say that thing to my partner, or I'm going to, quit that job, or I'm going to take that job even though I'm a little uncertain about it, or I'm going to go to Bali, or I'm going to move to a new place, or I'm not going to move for the first time even though I have a tendency to do so. I'm going to break a pattern. I'm going to cross a threshold with my authenticity. I'm going to live in my values even when it feels horrifying and scary. And so that became the ethos of the whole thing, was me just realizing who I'm most lit up by and the common themes I'm seeing in our circles, and in our experiences. So I would say that's the ethos. And I've always been like a community steward in a way, like school projects. I was always the person kind of delegating and making sure we're all good and everyone feels good, and are we good? Is everyone included? Are you got a job? Whatever. Like, soccer, I was like captain of my soccer team. Hey, are we all riled up? Are we motivated? Are we clear? Are we focused? Are we in the midst of it? I'm like, let's go. Like I was, it's kind of a natural thing, even in my fraternity, and, of similar roles. And it seems to be a role that I tend to play, is like considering a team, creating a messaging so everyone knows what we're doing, sharing that clarity across the team, talking to people and keeping that intimacy so everyone feels included and aligned and knows what to do, having check-ins to make sure we're all good and we're moving forward. And and it comes with some great benefits, like, oh, I'm Thomas, everyone knows him, he's so cool, he's significant because he's this leader person. And then it comes with some downside of like, screw him, I don't like how he makes decisions, I don't like his thing, it's weird, he's a this, he's a that. Like, like it comes with scrutiny, it comes with criticism, it comes with judgment, it comes with pressure, financial stuff. Like with Camp Sacred City, we have tens of thousands of dollars on the line, and I'm just like, I hope it works out, I don't know, so it comes with the risk, it comes with the criticism, it comes with so much. And so what I found is with every role, there's just this balancing out. It like doesn't even matter what freaking role it is. Like every role just has this pro and con, for my experience, where it just balances out. But yeah, that's just some vibes. That's some underlying context. So I'm curious how that lands for you.
It's beautiful. I had a moment in there that I felt really lit up by, around sort of the collective theme of crossing a threshold.
Yeah.
When you think back to some of the origins, I guess it doesn't even have to be to the origins, however you want to go with this question. I feel curious about one of your big threshold crossing moments, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, many come to mind. I would say I was in corporate, 24 years old, drinking on the weekends, feeling anxious at work, anxiety, Sunday nights, didn't feel so good. And yet my whole world was supporting this path. Be in corporate, drink on the weekends, all your friends are doing this. This is what we're doing. There's payoff with like women, there's payoff with status, there's payoff with money, there's payoff with friendship and community and belonging. All of my environment was like, there's payoff there. And I just felt, really it was one night that changed everything, was when I woke up in a parking garage in downtown Orlando. because I was so drunk. I like went to my parking spot where I worked and to like look out over the city or whatever, and I like fell asleep.
Oh, you weren't even
And
in your car in the parking?
no, dude, I just like went up there to like I don't even know. And I remember I woke up to like a janitor person like nudging me, and I woke up and I remember that I like sprinted home because I live downtown. I sprinted home, and the reason I sprinted home is because if I walked, I would be still enough to have to like sit with how I felt in my relationship with myself. And so as long as I was exhausted, I wouldn't have to like sit with myself, you know? And so that was a big turning point, and I started having like a beer, and it was, my environment was kind of like, what's going on, Thomas? What's going on? And I was just like, the pain of this is too much for me now, And then one day I stopped drinking for a week, and I had so much clarity that I quit my job immediately, became an entrepreneur, joined a co-working space, took on a whole new life. And like basically my friends, kept doing their thing, and there's so much love that's still there. It just, I like lost my whole environment. So when I quit my job and I quit drinking, my whole environment melted down. And I was faced with total unknown of like, I just wanted more, dude. Like I wanted more. Because I remember like in my relationships with women, I wasn't feeling fully met. I was like, I don't feel like we're fully connecting. I don't feel like you see me. I don't feel like I wanted to go deeper. My relationships with my friends, I was like, I want to go deeper. There's something more. There's just something more. Like what we did for fun. I wanted something more, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know any of this stuff existed. I didn't know there was kirtan, breathwork, cacao ceremonies, like sober celebrations. I had no clue, dude. I thought it was like tailgates or just art. That's what life was tailgates. It was just like, I didn't know. And so I'm so grateful for 24-year-old Thomas that took his last sip of alcohol after being a frat star, for 5 years, and quit his job and ventured into something that he knew he wanted, but he didn't know what it was. And it opened up a whole new life. And I'm shocked that 24-year-old Thomas would do that. Like he had a whole thing going. He was cool, and just to give it all up. So that was one, and there's a couple other that come up, especially in relationship, like intimate relationship, being willing to say something out loud. Yeah, those are some of the more defining moments, is intimate romantic partnership, when I'm willing to say something that I think is going to make me look weak, or make me look dumb, or maybe make them upset, or make them judge me, or reject me, wherever their most attachment is, and I'm willing to say something that could break that attachment. I'm grateful I've been willing to do those things. I'm so grateful that I'm willing to go through the pain of attachment breaking, because then what can re-emerge from that? Like new attachments form based on a relationship that's actually true. Like actually true. And so the willingness, because basically it's kind of like a crab shell. Like the shell's great, but if it's no longer working, now I'm all uncomfortable. I'm so grateful I've been willing to crack the shell and let it break down, and then get clear on what this is now, and then have a new shell get created to support the truth again and again. And it's that, and it's the Shiva, it's being willing to let things break down so something new can be built on the truth. I've held things together that weren't true many times in my past, and it's excruciating. And so every time I'm willing to say, this is how I really feel in this relationship, or this is what I really want, or this is what is hurting and what I want to change. Every time I'm willing to do that, it gives us a chance to let go of the shell that once was supportive and isn't anymore, and allow a new shell to come, new attachments to form based on the truth. It's so relieving to be in a relationship where it feels true, from my experience. I think about my last romantic partnership. We're in a relationship, we're in a friendship now, and it's so relieving and freeing and beautiful because it's oriented on the reality of our relationship. And so now there isn't any distortion. It's all reality. So it's free and playful and chill, and I think it's improved because we're basing it on reality.
Yeah, what you're speaking to me is Tantra. It's the devotion to the truth of the present moment and tantric relationships. There's a lot of distortion with the understanding of Tantra, but just there's a whole new template of relationship here for us if we all want to embody it. It's like, who is this person to me right now? What is the third entity that's created from this coming together of two people? What is outside of all concepts and blueprints of what's been available for more categories of we're a monogamous this, we're a whatever. It's actually showing up and communicating truths, often uncomfortable truths, so that the truth of the dynamic of the relationship, which serves the most for both people, is revealed. And you can sort of settle into that for a while. And, you and your friend, it might shift to a different octave, and it's going to serve everyone, but it's staying in that curiosity and that openness and that presence, instead of, like you said, staying attached to past versions that no longer serve, or trying to fit things into categories that don't actually feel like a good fit. It's a totally wrong crab shell, to use your
Right.
beautiful metaphor.
Yeah, thank you.
You have amazing language and resourcing context for this whole process of releasing attachments to what was and moving towards a higher octave of truth. I'm curious, when you were 24, or maybe the first few times in relationship where you courageously did the thing, you went towards something that was higher and you released attachments to the past and were with all your fears. How did you muster the courage or the insight on, how to do that, and that would be fruitful?
I think I don't think it's releasing attachments. I think it's being willing to sit through the excruciating agony of attachments breaking down when I say the truth. And so it's just being willing to go for the ride of being fucking destroyed. And so I think that's the main thing, is the excruciating pain of, in a past relationship, when we did change, when I said the thing out loud, she said the thing out loud, things changed, seeing her dance with another man for the first time, and the excruciating pain and agony of that, and the trigger, and all of it. And so it's really just for me, it's been being willing to be with that. Like, say the truth and then sit there and be with the fact that this person is dancing with someone else. Because what's happening is it's just ego attachments breaking and getting ripped apart. And that is not a bad thing. And agony is not a bad thing. Agony is a part of attachments breaking down, and I'm okay with that. And so what I found is, each time I say the truth or I receive the truth and I sit in it, and then I experience the thing that's bringing me great pain and I sit in it, things get a little better. And then I think part two, which is like amazing, not needed, is when the other person meets me in that. And so what's cool about that relationship is we met each other in that. And we were like, that happened, and we went to lunch, and it was like, hey, like, I felt really hurt, and also, like, I projected, and I got a little tense, and I'm sorry, and we just, like, kind of met each other in that, and it was so beautiful. And so I don't need to be met by the other, and it's really cool and supportive, I think, when we're able to meet each other as attachments break down, staying rooted in the truth, coming together, rooted in the truth, not falling back into old patterns, not falling back into anything, and supporting and honoring each other in that process. So I would say like that's the main thing, is being willing to let the attachments to continue to be destroyed, and then what continues to be built are attachments that support a new relationship. And now I'm like, heck yeah, dance with tons of people. I love it. I'm rooting you on. Find your future husband. Let's go. Like, I got there through enough times of letting attachments be annihilated and letting myself, a part of myself, be annihilated through that experience. And then in terms of the courage to do it, which I think was your original question, is just being tired of the pain, of the suffering, which I think is different than agony, the suffering of withholding, the suffering of dishonesty, the suffering of not being in truth, of being in something that doesn't feel right. Like, I'm done. I'm done with the suffering. I'm cool with the agony. I'm done with the suffering. And I think it's just enough pain got me to cross the threshold. So pain was a great, support for me to finally start doing the thing. And then once I kept doing the thing, I kept seeing the payoff. I was like, oh, this is way better in the long term. It sucks in the short term. It's way better in the long term. And I got to see that enough times where it makes sense.
Yeah, I appreciate your distinction with languaging, how you sort of received the idea of releasing attachments, because how you just described your process, that's how I understand releasing attachments now. An older version of me and a lot of people in the spiritual community perhaps have this idea of releasing attachments being actually aversion, like being averse to having attachments and just being like, oh, that's not me. Like, just pushing that away and just let it go and just let it go. That can feel super invalidating for us. It's like, I fucking can't. It's painful. Like, there's real pain here. Like, I have that. What do you mean just let it go? Right?
Yeah.
And so it's not about just letting it go. It's more about letting it be. It's more about being with it and just bringing more and more awareness to it and experiencing it, and hopefully having support systems that can just be there to bear witness for you. It's the power of community, so that those attachments continue to just get destroyed and annihilated. And it's an extremely painful process. And the more we become masterful in it and show up to it and don't have resistance to it, it becomes like the metaphor of the alcohol on the cut. It's a much quicker process, and it's not just pain and then it's over, like trying to just get rid of the pain's finally gone. It's a portal into a better life, into more liberation, into better relationships, into more aligned relationships, into a more aligned reality, which is sort of a different understanding of the role of pain. I don't even know if our culture believes there's a role of pain besides like, oh, there's something wrong. It's a biochemical message that something's wrong in the system. The ancients and the indigenous knew that pain is one of our greatest teachers. The pain and agony you spoke to, and your distinction of pain versus suffering. Pain being the teacher, something to pay attention to learn from, to learn through, to grow through. Suffering being the resistance to the pain, the resistance to our initiations, the resistance to our curriculum. That's the suffering game, all up and down. And sure, that has a place too. When we're young, we go through years of cycles of resistance and suffering until, like you said, you've had enough. And that will be like that. I had it around the same age as well, like going through a marriage and divorce at a very young age of 21, 22, hitting rock bottom, having gone through so many cycles of the same bullshit and suffering, such intense suffering. I feel like my soul drove me into those suffering cycles so deeply, so early, so that by the time I'm in my 30s, I've got something, figured out. So I'm not somebody in my 30s or 40s or 50s who's starting to have an awakening and be like, oh, my whole life was a whole fire. To have that at 22 was such grace. It was such a blessing. And I resonate completely. I was like, I've got to make a change. And for me, I was like, I got to make a change or I kill myself. There's really no, that's how bad the suffering was. I was like, I can't keep doing this. It's just not an option anymore.
Yeah, beautiful. I resonate like with that journey you're talking about, 100%.
Yeah. 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 Releasing attachments. What does it actually mean?
Yeah, and something I want to share with that is like I definitely my journey has been more embracing my humanity, and I
Yeah.
feel like Ram Dass calls it shining the light of awareness on my human experience. He's like, enjoy the drama, be a human, have an ego, and remember that you are loving awareness, you are everything, and the miracle is here. And I really resonate with Ram Dass's message, because that's been the journey. Is instead of trying to avoid the shadow and the dark and the scary and like only be positive and only everything's great, and that led to that suffering because I was withholding. I was there's that thing in the shadow that's I'm thinking about or subconscious. Like I lived that path, and now I'm just like shine the light of awareness on my whole humanness. I'm like, yeah, I have joy and I have sorrow. Like I feel supportive about people, and sometimes I want them to fail, and I have weird thoughts where I feel threatened by people. Isn't that precious? Isn't that just wonderfully human? The drama, that I have these goals and desires, and I have these needs, and I want to be alive, and I want to live a long life, and I want to feel significant, and I want to feel like legacy. Isn't that precious? Isn't that sweet? And so instead of this ego being this bad thing, I'm more like, I love you. You're so precious. You make life interesting. Thank you. And so now I just do my best to shine that light of grace on it and also be explicit about my humanness. And that's what I find. It's like, it's not to eliminate my humanness, just be real about it. And so that's why I love telling people, like, hey, I'm feeling like when they're like sharing something where they're not feeling good and something's going wrong, I'm realizing my ego is like wanting to feel more comfortable, and it's wanting to help you feel more comfortable so I can feel more comfortable. I do have an idea that I think might help you feel more comfortable, which might help me feel more comfortable. Are you open to me sharing that? And so just like, and once the light has been shined on the reality of what's actually going on up in here, I find this beautiful, like, graceful, spacious environment for us to relate. So I just like to be as real about my ego and my desires and my underlying motives as possible. Like, as much as possible, just share my motives. Here's what's really going on. I want you to be happy, and I think that'll help me be happy too. And the more I'm explicitly shining the light on the whole truth, I find things to be so beautiful and relaxing and fun and playful and precious is the word I enjoy. Like, it all becomes this precious human experience.
Thomas Preciousman. Yeah, those themes are definitely alive with what I talk about a lot in this podcast, where I do think as a collective we're moving from this spiritual path of really looking towards upper world and light and love, and we're actually embracing not just underworld and soul, but just our human experience.
Absolutely.
And it's an integration of all of it. And to me, some of the deepest spiritual teachings are paradox. I mean, that's everything. It's like, I'm this human with all this shadow. I also have access to this transpersonal soul and connection to all that is. That's
Yes.
me as well. Well, how? How do those exist? Great question. Keep asking that, and that will birth greater and greater paradoxical truths that'll take you deeper and deeper into yourself. I don't have the answer for that, but it's the question to ask. It is the question of experiencing the polarities without trying to just identify as one and just say no thank you to any other part of my experience.
That's the drama. I think that's the thing that makes life interesting, is that I'm a human and I'm a being. I like that human being. You ever think about I think about this all the time. I'm like, that is interesting. That I'm both of those things at the same time. That creates the drama, I feel. Like a beautiful drama. It creates an epic adventure. It turns life into Lord of the Rings. Like
Totally.
it's not just chaotic nothingness, and it's not just perfect everythingness. It's both. And
It's
that
the tension.
cre- it's the tension that creates that sweet spot, that interesting third way forward from my experience.
I 100% agree. It's so many words have so many meanings to so many people. So I have such a mushroom consciousness brain that when my guests like say one word, I'll start like branching into like all the meanings. I'm like, how can I connect that all and bridge it for the most people to understand?
Which word?
So, so even a word like ego, like for me, and I repeat this on podcasts just to like that word is used by so many spiritual teachers and so many people, and they're saying if you really pay attention to their teachings, they're using it a little bit differently. And for me, there's versions of the ego. There's the parts of our egos that are unhealed, wounded, in the shadow, need tending. And that's typically all that people talk about when they say ego. That's like the encapsulation of ego. And for me, it's a much more complex, like we all absolutely have to have an ego in order to experience a subject object relationship and be in that polarity tension in order to exist on this earth realm. You have to have an ego, because if you don't, then you're just the oneness, like you don't exist in experiencing the form that the couch is that you're sitting on, or the form that you're taking in this moment, Thomas, or the form that I am.
Yeah.
Like it slows everything down and gives the tension and the drama you spoke to have all of these multidimensional experiences of formlessness coming into form. We need the time. It's like there's a fundamental truth that, it's all timeless. There's no such thing. And there's a truth that there is time. Like we create this thing in order to have the experience. And so if we can continue to do the work to heal the unhealed parts of our ego, then our ego actually becomes a servant of soul, a servant of our mission,
Yeah.
a servant of God. And we get to experience, I think the one who is experiencing your beauty right now is not just my God. It's not just transpersonal, no Josh. There's also an ego that is the parts of me that are healed and connected to God and connected to soul, that are experiencing and interpreting, what makes you you and what makes you beautiful. And so I believe that through what I've studied with a lot of indigenous cultures and earth-based societies is that the ego through childhood would develop into a healthy ego, which has the qualities of both authenticity and a sense of belonging. Those two things, once they're met, then the child can go off into their initiations to become an individuated adult and come back as a more functional member of society. And they understand their individual purpose and their individual mission. And so that healthy ego is now working for that individual soul purpose and mission. The problem with our culture is you usually have to sacrifice one of those things, the sense of belonging or the authenticity. And usually we sacrifice the authenticity. And so there's a big job that a lot of us in modern culture are here to do, which I think is to work on healing our immature ego and get it to a place where it does feel it has places of belonging. It has places where it can feel safe enough to be authentic, and then find its own empowered version of authenticity. And then from that place, there's enough of a healthy ego that is like, I trust you, soul. I trust you, God. I don't need to control everything. I'm giving it up, and I'm going to be a servant. And so then the two can actually work together, the soul and the ego. They both need each other just as much as one needs the other.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. I really resonate. I think Ram Dass is becoming somebody and then becoming nobody. Is kind of how I interpreted that, and yeah, I mean, and then the ego becoming a servant for God, essentially. That's like the Hanuman path in Hindu culture as well. And yeah, the ego, yeah, how I experience it, I think is similar to you. Like it's the everything that it's the separateness, which is a beautiful thing. You know, there's the oneness and then there's the separateness, and that both are really cool. The fact that I'm a part of a miracle that's all perfect and beautiful and happening forever and always, and the fact that in this time and moment I'm this unique thing that's experiencing things and has goals and desires and fears and everything, that's also interesting. And so yeah, when I say ego, I don't mean that's like a bad thing. I mean it's
No.
like I have goals and desires and I want to be alive and I see beauty and I like that and I taste things. I like grilled cheese. You know, it's like it's it's and you know, and I feel threatened sometimes because I'm scared my needs won't be met, and isn't that precious? And so the more I just shine the light of awareness on all of the ego, I agree it becomes more of a functional, creative tool for something bigger.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I thought you felt as you were speaking and in the ways you were speaking. It's more for listeners than just even your story of somebody coming up to you and be like, it's like you have no ego. It's like maybe it's like you have no wounded ego that's projecting all over everybody right now. It's like,
right,
yeah,
right.
that's real. You're tapped into like your mature ego, and you're tapped into your soul, and you're tapped into God in that moment. You're showing up as a humble servant for God. You still have an ego, so it's these concepts around ego I'm constantly
Yeah,
challenging people with, you know.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I think the word that comes up for me is explicit. I find things neutral out and become playful and interesting when I'm explicit about what's going on. When I'm hiding something or withholding something or putting something in a closet or pretending like it's not there, things begin to feel distorted in the field and feel a little weird. And so when I'm just explicit, it feels like everything just works out. It all just makes sense. I'm being real. I have this motive. I have this fear. It's all here. Here it is. And it's like, okay, we can work with that. But I think when
Yeah.
something's hidden, that's when things start feeling threatening and weird and scary.
What's interesting when you use that word, I'm thinking about, you know, when you watch the movie commercials or the trailers, it's rated R, and one of the things is like for explicit content. I'm like, what does that mean?
I don't know. Yeah.
It's rated R for being truthful and honest and transparent. It's like a weird association of like, ooh,
Yeah, totally.
that's dirty and adult, and like
Totally.
maybe
Yeah.
I'm
That is an
stretching.
odd, that is an interesting word. No, I mean it's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna look up like the main definition, the mainstream definition of it for sure.
Yeah, and then the etymology. That's something I have some teachers who are always doing. They're bringing these definitions and they're showing us the root Latin, and you're just like, whoa, this is the code of the spells that we're casting on one another, essentially, including
Yeah.
ourselves. It's like we're bringing formless into form through our words, and where do they come from? And looking into that is really revealing and disturbing. That like so many words we just take for granted, especially in the English language, on a normal day-to-day basis, we're really in some ways casting these very disempowering spells on one another just normally all throughout the day.
Yeah.
Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, super cool. Super interesting.
Yeah, so bringing it back, I would love to maybe close this out by asking you, is there any type of more crystallized vision that you have for Sacred City? Or it doesn't even have to be crystallized, but I kind of hear you in your relationship with it. It's very much reminding me of Michael Singer's story, the surrender experiment. As it was like it just kept showing up, revealing. He just kept staying humble. Like the next project, he's like, I never would have expected that I'd be starting a construction company, starting a tech company, starting a medical billing insurance company. But it all, and he would just let go of his resistances and do the thing, and then it would reveal some big spiritual reason for it. So I don't know if that's like full on the vibe, or if you have a little bit more tangible vision. Maybe your ego has some hopes and dreams for Sacred City.
For sure. I think my ego,
Your dirty little ego.
I think on the ego side of things, my preference is to be surrounded by people of all ages who are living courageously authentic lives. I tend to like having those kind of conversations. I tend to be drawn to those kind of people. I tend to want to continue to hang out with people like that. And then even with our 5 pillars for our containers, our experiences, sacred, people who want to go deep and be present, silly, people who also are a little goofy and don't take things too seriously, safe, people who accept others and themselves with grace, even if we don't agree, sober, drug, alcohol, psychedelic, cannabis-free environments. I don't need everyone to be that all the time, but just that we can come together in a space like that. And then sovereign, really like wielding personal agency and honoring others as they do the same to take care of themselves. I prefer to be with people and to be building things with people like that and building things that support that. So I have worldly preferences where as Sacred City grows, I feel more comfortable in my environment. I feel more lit up by my environment. I feel more excited in my day-to-day reality. And so my like ego part is like, this is awesome because it's like all my favorite things and it keeps expanding. This is great. And what I find is when I get too attached to that, I'm like, ooh, like I find, or I start giving my power to it, then I start feeling more threatened when it's like, oh no, it's not growing, or oh no, it's not going to work out, or oh no, someone doesn't like it. Does that mean it's over? Like, and so that's just been an interesting practice of finding that really healthy, sustainable relationship with it. And so what I've come to is just like, do I think the world needs this? No clue. Would I enjoy that? Yeah. Do I think the world would be better off if everyone was living courageous, authentic lives? No idea. Am I lit up by people who do that? Absolutely. So my worldview...
Can I challenge you with that a little bit?
Yeah, please.
So you asked the question, do I think the world would be a better place if everyone was living courageous, authentic lives?
Yeah.
It's like, and then you said, I don't know. It's like, that's a question. To me, that was like answering, do I know of the world? Do you actually have an opinion? Do you think it would or wouldn't be a better, or it's like full on, you don't even have a thought of if it would?
No idea. I think
Wow.
when the question and that's what I've got to. I used to be really righteous and like think I had the answers for the world. Like if we just did things this way, we'd have world peace and everything, energy would be sustainable. And now I'm just like, no clue, no idea. And when I think about a question I love is like, if all my political stances were implemented immediately in every country, am I sure that every person would feel like their lives are better off? And the answer to that question for me has continually been, heck no. I am not sure that everyone would feel like their lives are better off. And so to me, I don't know if there is a right way that I'm aware of. Because it seems like everything tends to have people of a full spectrum of views on every single rule or law, or, so to me it's more about, I'm just participating and I'm doing my thing, and what emerges around me, fantastic. Do I think it needs to grow? No idea. Do I prefer it because it's cool for me because of how I like things to be? Absolutely. So I do my best to come back to focusing on that, focusing on my participation and seeing how my environment responds to that, and encouraging others to do the same. Because I don't think Sacred City is for everyone. I don't know if Thomas is for everyone, but what I see is when I focus on participating, I tend to have an environment that's more coherent with that. And when I see my friends doing that, they begin creating their own environment that's coherent with that. And so that's really what I'm rooting on in this world is for myself to keep doing that and for my friends to keep doing that if they want. And so with Sacred City, yeah, am I creating infrastructure for it to be this robust organization in St. Pete and become this like functioning city that has infrastructure from like schools to chambers of commerce to all the things? Yeah, I'm building that out. Do I think that should happen? Absolutely not. Do I think I need it to happen? No. Would my ego enjoy it? Yes. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, is may it emerge. Ultimately, I think when I'm wanting it to be my financial source, I feel like I need it to work because I want my needs met, because I'm attached to living a long life and having my life be a certain way. So when I'm attaching my financial needs to it, I start getting more rooted in, I need it to work, I need everyone to like it. But when I'm having my financial needs met, aka I'm eating, I'm sheltered, I can see that I'm set up for a longer life, which I want. All of a sudden, I feel more relaxed about however Sacred City emerges. So yeah, that's what I would say is my overall answer. Is when my needs are met, I'm good. When I'm thinking it needs to meet my needs, I feel a little more antsy about it becoming something big.
Yeah, I feel like you have a pretty nuanced, unique perspective on the whole thing and like where you're coming from. And yeah, it kind of goes back to your foundation of transparency and being explicit and honest.
Exactly.
There's that. This is something you want to experience.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful seed to plant for anybody who wants to plant it and just be with that, like, what is my motivation? Where is it actually birthed from? Yeah. And then not making it wrong is probably the art.
That's it.
There it is.
That's it. That's how you raise the roof. Well
Nailed
said.
it. Yeah, if you can't see Thomas, he just raised the roof. Make sure that's known by the listeners. All right. I think we did it.
We did it.
We did it. We really did it.
I feel that.
Yeah. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate your honesty, your transparency, your courageous authenticity. As always.
Likewise, bro. Yeah, this was fun, and it was a meaningful journey. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I will list any links to find you and Sacred City in the show notes. Is there anything you want to shout out before we close it out?
No, I feel complete.
Shout out to God.
Hey.
All right, dear listeners, thank you for the currency of your attention that you were willing to pay this hour and 15 minutes. Appreciate you, love you, and until next time.
Thank you for joining me on the Soulbody Wholeness podcast. If you like this episode, you can support the journey by rating and subscribing wherever you listen. I invite you to follow me on Instagram at Soulbody Wholeness for more insights and to stay up to date with my current offerings. And if you feel called to work with me directly, I invite you to visit my website at www.soulbodywholeness.life. I offer somatic alchemy sessions and soul purpose initiation journeys that awaken your inner healer, reconnect you to your innate wholeness, and ignite your soul's deepest purpose. I invite you to carry this resonance with you as you move throughout your day and return anytime you need a reminder of your courage, your wholeness, and your light. Blessings, old friend.